Both Chinese President Xi Jinping and US President Barack Obama expressed the need for China and the United States to work together at the White House Friday. They pledged cooperation in areas including climate change, cybersecurity, economic development and people-to-people initiatives. And we begin at the White House with our coverage and CCTV's Jessica Stone. Jessica, cybersecurity, the big issue, of course. Both leaders were candid to each other and the world's media about the need to address the issue, and some progress seems to have been made, but differences still exist. Talk us through it.
Well, I thought what was really interesting, I attended the public press conference, of course, and President Xi Jinping sort of told reporters, look, we've been talking about this a lot, and we've been talking about it for a long time. So he really underscored the work that these two leaders have been doing. But in terms of the agreements that they reached, let's take a look at those. Primarily, the first one is that both countries are not knowingly going to enable cyber theft for commercial gain. They're also going to sign on to a UN framework that would basically prevent any cyber attack from being used to damage critical infrastructure for each other's nations. And they've also said that they're going to start a high-level dialogue between the two countries on cyber by the end of the year. And then it's going to happen regularly. And Nathan, you'll recall that the last cybersecurity working group was canceled last May after the U.S. indicted 5 Chinese military officers on hacking allegations. And so there really has been a sort of a pause in the relationship over cyber in terms of actually having a sanctioned working group. That's going to now start again.
Yeah, really managing differences defined there. Jessica, perhaps one of the biggest announcements came from China on the issue of climate change, cap and trade system. Talk to us about that.
Well, that's also very interesting because this was an announcement that was really sort of made over the course of talks that were sort of peripheral to these two leaders, but announced today. And the basic tenet, the strongest tenet really, is that China is going to implement this nationwide cap and trade system, which it will begin in 2017. And I'm just hearing the motorcycles pull up for the dinner behind me. But they're going to do that. And that is very much in keeping with what the U.S. is also trying to do with its power sector. And it's going to start a cap and trade system in that power sector in 2016. Other agreements also include some emission standards reductions on vehicles, as well as on building efficiencies. They're trying to coordinate that. And then, of course, Nathan, as well, some talk about Paris. But first, let me let you hear from both of them on this critical meeting of the minds on climate.
We have decided to continue to work together to tackle global challenges and provide more public good for the international community. We again issued a joint announcement on climate change.
Our two countries are also putting forward our common vision for the ambitious climate change agreements that we seek in Paris. When the world's two largest economies, energy consumers and carbon emitters, come together like this, then there's no reason for other countries, whether developed or developing, to not do so as well.
And Nathan, you can hear the tenor of the tone of both of these leaders. They were literally glowing on this count. They really do feel strongly about working together to combat climate change. One other note as well, as we talk about going forward into Paris, and that is that China is now joining the U.S. with a commitment of $3 billion going to that climate fund, which will help developing and less fortunate communities and countries basically mitigate the effects of climate change.
That will be well received as President Xi Jinping heads the UN this weekend as well. Jessica, we heard the sirens behind you. This state dinner is about to get underway, hosted, of course, by the White House. You've been having a sneak preview all week. What's actually going to happen tonight?
Well, I think it's about, we're about at 7:04, so within the next 10 minutes, there's going to be an official arrival with an honor guard by Chinese President Xi Jinping and his wife, Madam Peng Liyuan. They're going to basically go up this drive behind me, be greeted formally, be photographed with President Barack Obama and with First Lady Michelle Obama. And of course, everybody will want to know what are they wearing, what designers they will wear. And oftentimes both women really do make a gesture towards the home country and pick a designer of their nationality, but also with a design that honors the country that's coming for a state visit. And then after that, they'll go into the dining room. And many of the guests, I was just taking a peek, actually, Nathan, at the guest list. We're going to have a star-studded business guest list, the likes of entrepreneur Mark Cuban, the CEO of Microsoft, the CEO of Pepsi, Jeff Katzenberg from DreamWorks, and of course a number of officials from both sides. There's even it looks to be a Chinese TV host that's also been invited, whose name is Yuasai Khan. So there's a lot of different kind of people. Should be a very interesting conversation for the guests, but we'll also be looking to hear what are in the toasts and what do they think of those candy Chinese gardens that I got a chance to see yesterday, where each individual thing is edible, and they're giving a nod to the Mid-Autumn Moon Festival that we're all celebrating with a very miniature little moon cake.